All right, welcome to another edition of Greg and Greg. This year we're here at NTPRS 2017. Last year we were at IFLT. And this year we have a special guest, the diva of YouTube Spanish videos, YouTubery, the famous Señor Jordan, who my students used to call that guy.
Señor Willie, famous.
My students used to call that guy.
That guy?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. You're not in frame, be careful. You're
So,
you're out of frame.
oh yeah, I'm out of frame. So yeah, we just wanted to ask Señor Jordan some questions because you know, we've all seen his grammar videos on YouTube, and many of us are surprised to learn that he teaches with TPRS or CI.
And has been doing it and making videos now for NCI for quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because you have those mono videos, and then the Juan Cena.
Jamoncito was the first attempt with CI.
Yep.
And that was like, gosh, back when my second school. So that would have been like year 5 or year 6 of teaching, probably year 2 or so of TPRS. So
Awesome.
Many years ago.
So how did you? Let's go back to you know, how did you learn Spanish? What made you want to become a Spanish teacher? Because I noticed that you know, in your videos you have a lot of really good, actually, grammar explanations.
Thank you.
Like, where does all this come from?
Okay, so my passion for Spanish is kind of the question.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that for you.
Yeah, your passion for Spanish.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess I always thought it was really easy in high school. It was the one class that I was really good at. I did okay in classes in school, but I wasn't. I was not the best student, but I wasn't the worst student. I was in honors classes and stuff in my high school. But Spanish was just where I excelled, and I loved it, and it was easy, and it was a game. It was always a game in my brain, like the pieces of this language that it's like a puzzle, and I can shape them and mold them and form them. And even in Spanish 1, I was already looking ahead in other chapters. We did textbooks, obviously, and I just always thought it would be so much fun. And so by the time I was in Spanish 4, I was one of the ones who was already trying to keep conversations, already trying to just practice it whenever I could, and I would talk to myself even because nobody would talk to me.
Wow.
I just wanted to learn more about it always. And when I went to college, that was the one thing I knew. And so teaching is a whole other thing, but that was an accident actually. But I've always loved Spanish ever since I started it in high school. And I guess with the grammar, some of the explanations of this, the only mnemonic device, there's some mnemonic devices that I've found through like the internet, like the weirdos stuff, and the song that's most famous, though, is not mine.
Preterite yo form song.
The irregular preterite song to the tune of La Cucaracha. That is not mine, and I explained that I learned it in high school. People still think it's mine, and it's not mine. But I have written a lot of songs in the last couple of years, actually. I put them to the tunes of, you know, other familiar tunes, you know, that kind of thing. But those are mine. Not like the only one that I can take it in for sure say is not is that one with Teneris Tuve, Stars Tuve, you know, that one. So
I gotta ask, were you a big, and because you and I seem to have extremely similar backstories, except I'm not internet famous.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Keyword yes. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Were you a big? I'm just gonna take a stab. Were you like a big reader and kind of a little more introverted in school?
I am super introverted. Yeah, that's a good question. So people think, and right now I'm on because our camera's on, so I have to be on. Right?
Yeah.
If you just saw me before this, we weren't talking like the same level of like, you know, it was like, hey man, just kidding. But anyway, I was like, but like with people, like 2 people, I'm good. You know, like with a little small crowd. When it's morning, no, like not comfortable at all. But Mike kept pushing me to do it.
We can tell.
I know that's it, but that was kind of the dynamic, right? But I mean, I think we played it off, and it was fun.
Yes.
Yeah. And so anyway,
the whole introvert extrovert thing, and I follow in that
contrast.
so
People relate, right?
You have to. It's the bell is rung. It's time to flip that switch.
Gotcha. So I think for me, teaching is a good extension of that because I have to act. But I mean, yeah. So I'm an introvert. I actually, people always think I'm an extrovert, and I don't know. I might just have really extroverted tendencies. I do like people, but I think introverts do like people. We do. I prefer them in small quantities, and I prefer them in intentional quantities.
Yeah,
I want to talk to you and learn about you. I don't want to just say, so that weather outside, yeah, you know, it's hot. Who cares? We all know that it's hot outside. Why are we going to talk about that?
That's the hallmark of introverts is they want to have conversations.
I might say, what's your deepest struggle, Greg?
They want them
What?
to be
We just
meaningful.
met.
They want them to be meaningful. That's the hallmark of an
why,
introvert.
why waste my time? You know, because our time is precious, and I want to think, and I want to help you. Maybe we can even work through things together. You know, and so yeah, so that's a big part of that. But when I was in high school, actually, I was really introverted, and I kind of learned to be more extroverted in high school, and so I started getting out of my shell a lot, and I learned that, because I was super shy, freshman, you know, and I learned from some older people that if I could just talk to people, I just say hi to people, they would usually say hi back, and so I started playing around with that, and that's where I kind of learned to pretend that the extrovert persona that I use with people and the students a lot is that, you know, if you genuinely people are gonna, you know, respond to you in a nice way if you're nice to them, you know, and they'll reflect the way you talk to them. So, but yeah, definitely introvert, and that's why actually the camera is not. It doesn't go against it at all. What I do with my videos is completely something an introvert can do because there's nobody in the room with me. Maybe my cat Felipe in the first couple years before my wife ran him away. She didn't like him.
And you can edit.
But you can edit, so I can, which I didn't do a very good job of at the very beginning. You know, I taught myself how to do it. But anyway, yes, introvert, total introvert.
Awesome. Did you live abroad at all?
I lived abroad. Through my college, I went to Truman State, which is in Missouri, northeast Missouri. Go Bulldogs. Just kidding. We're terrible teams. The girls' stuff's always better than the guys' stuff, sports-wise, in our school. But anyway, we had an actual program where we could go to Costa Rica for like a summer, and so I didn't have to like take out time with my friends and things, you know, during the school year, so I could just go there in the summer and everything. And so I went to Costa Rica for a few months with a group of people, and it was super pampered. But see, whenever my philosophy always was, whenever I go abroad, even if I'm with other American, you know, Anglo-Saxon type people or English-speaking people, my philosophy is I'm here, I want to speak the language, I want to practice the language. So even after like high school, Spanish, 4 years, I went to Spain with a group of like for 10 days or something. And I was the one who was trying to, I told the tour guides, I want this in Spanish. And they were all saying, we need it in English, you know. So that's always been, yeah. But I've also kind of lived abroad, but not abroad for many years, because my first job that I took, I was teaching Spanish, but kind of the reason that I was teaching Spanish in the first place was to be near the Spanish-speaking community in a very small town, like migrant population, to kind of help them out, mentor some youth there. And so I actually went a lot of Central America and Mexico. Then I lived there for like probably 7 or 8 years. I got hooked up with that when I was in college, meeting a lot of people. And so that was like living abroad, but within the constraints of the U.S., you know. And so my Spanish soared during those days quite a bit. I've probably lost a little bit of a sense, but
awesome. And when did the realization that you should go the direction of CI, when did that come about, and how did it come about?
So I took an Italian class in college. This is, you know, story. I've always loved stories. I think part of maybe you even, you said you're introverted. Like, I mean, and the human condition is storytelling. We are narrative based as people. That's how we remember things. That's how we infuse knowledge, morals, etc. You know. So for me though, it's a natural extension. I always loved to tell a good story, because I always thought, as me as an introvert, as part of it, if I'm going to tell you something, like I want to be memorable or something, or I want you to, you know, like, wow, that's a great story, you know. And so there's always that theatrics to it too. So it kind of goes with the CI stuff. But in college, I took an Italian class, and you know, I was super grammar. I love grammar, and she taught the class from day one. Now, for me, it was comprehensible input, without realizing what that was, because I knew Spanish, right? I knew enough Spanish at that point that Italian was like, okay, really, you know, like come stai, like, okay, yeah, obviously como estás, you know, like come se dice, like como se dice, like, you know, super comprehensible for me. The rest of the class, it was not comprehensible, but because she was staying in the target language this whole time, being very repetitive with things, for me it was wonderful. For the other people in the class, they did not soar like I did, right? And so, but you know, thinking back on that, I loved what she was doing. I thought, I want to do that in my classes one day. So the lesson that I always do is I just modeled the lesson that she did, which is I would, first day of class, I would talk to my students in Spanish, and I would immerse them, and I would be like, ¿Cómo estás? You know, and I would just like talk about, ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Dónde eres? Those three, you know, crucial things. And
well, I don't know if you guys would agree, but I feel like every language teacher wants to teach with
Hey,
comprehensible input.
Oh yeah.
It's just we don't know what comprehensible input is
Yes.
if all we've ever had instruction in is grammar.
Right. Or we're
always
immersed.
the priority.
Or we're just
Yes.
immersed. Or we're just immersed.
And to just give you an example of that, probably my favorite video that you did was the zombie
Oh, the
Predator
conditional?
Imperfect. Wasn't it Predator Imperfect?
Zombie was conditional.
Zombie was conditional?
Yeah.
Okay. And I would take, not knowing what comprehensible input was,
It was pretty
I
incomprehensible,
would,
probably.
no, but it
Oh, was it good?
But if you made it comprehensible,
Sure.
I would take, sometimes I would take your 5-minute videos
Yeah.
and I would turn them into 2 or 3 day lessons.
Scaffold them.
Yes.
Perfect. I love it.
And I'm, PQA before I know what PQA is.
Sure. So you find ways to enhance your instruction method as opposed to making your instruction.
Right.
Good. And that's the beauty. Yeah. Awesome.
Right, and a lot of the videos that you do are question based.
Yeah.
Where you have the question and then you have the answer,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you define the terms before
Yeah.
using something new.
Yeah, I think you have to make it interactive. Like what we do is interactive. And you can't. I hate watching videos where I'm not challenged to think. Well, I do automatically think. I mean, introverted. I'm gonna keep saying that word probably starting because you brought it up. But I always analyze things. I always overanalyze. But I want to make sure that the students are being, they're calling attention. I'm calling attention to things to them because they might not analyze that without me. And that's where the pop-up grammar comes into TPRS later, and along the journey. But yeah, so.
Now, were there any resources that were kind of influential to you in transitioning? I remember on your website you mentioned that you had a class in college where you used Bill Van Patten's From Input to Output.
Yes, I taught for a few years before I went back and got my master's in actual certification. I was a non-certified teacher for many years because I never wanted to teach, and it's a whole other story. We won't get into that. You only have so much time for this interview, maybe for episode 2, right? But it's when I took that class, I'd already been teaching, and I was doing the grammar stuff, and I didn't even have time to process BVP. I didn't have time to process, the crashing stuff we talked about. I was teaching every day. I was teaching multiple preps. I was going to night classes during the school year, and we had a methods course. It was like 3 hours straight, and then we had, I was taking to try to get all this, to actually become a teacher, and so I was in the thick of it, and those are things you can't just be teaching and wow, yeah, let me think about this. I had lesson plans I had to do the next day, and I was an over planner with lesson plans, as you might gather, with some of the stuff that I create for YouTube. Imagine my actual classes.
Right.
I was making PowerPoints, I made the water cycle in PowerPoints with animated, kids didn't care, but I worked really hard in it,
Redoing it every single
yeah,
year.
and exactly. I had to make it better, I love PowerPoint. I was a pro. I could do things in PowerPoint that people could not even fathom when I would present in college, when I went back to college. And my students didn't care, but, people in college were wowed by them. Oh, yeah. And so, that was, the BVP thing was really interesting, though, because I read I had some input to output, and I read that in that class, but I didn't have time to process it, really. And I understood it. The teacher really challenged me to do was this idea of, and I just thought it was immersion. That's the problem. People hear comprehensible input, and they automatically say, oh, I'll just talk to my kids in Spanish. I'll just talk to them. And that's not, no. Because we're talking about, we want intake. And intake is really the comprehended, message. It's the input.
Right.
And it's because it could be comprehensible input, but it's not comprehended input. So those are very distinct things. So we want the intake to be maximized, right? And it's not going to be maximized if we're just speaking, oh yeah, I think I had a colors video, for example. I'm experimenting. You're seeing the evolution of my paradigms. I'm doing this body parts video, and I'm like, oh, all Spanish. That's great. They're going to get something out of it, but it's not intentional. It was just.
Right.
It wasn't intentional teaching like I know now. It was just, something's going to have to stick because I'm just throwing the language out there. But see, my philosophy, and I've come to this paradigm change a lot, is, okay, teaching them with just target language, with no help, no repetition, nothing like the stuff that we're using with CI, principles of what we're using in our classes. TPRS is great at this. But what we do, unfortunately, when we just immerse the kids without these other contexts and other methods and strategies, it's okay. So immersion people think is great sometimes when they go travel abroad, but see, they also usually have a level of the language when they're going to get immersed, right? And if they don't, they usually don't come back as well. Certain personalities can, certain people can, but also they might have to get tutoring and stuff, and they're okay, they might have some great gains, but like immersion. Think about immersion. If I were to put my 5-year-old daughter, whose level of English is very low, in an English business meeting, like,
Right.
you know, what is she going to get out of that? You know, that's immersing her in the language, but it's going to be beyond her ability, and so that there's not going to be intake in that. You know, that's kind of what I like to think of when I think of with my students, and you know, just talking in the language isn't enough. You know, we have to make sure that that intake is maximized.
Right.
So.
Yeah, before I got into TPRS, I was very much into Benny the Irish Polyglot.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And, you know, a lot of his stuff is, well, he's very much a
skills-based or something?
speak from day one.
Yeah.
And so what he does is he memorizes these chunks of language, and then he goes and speaks to native speakers. And
but he's getting the input after.
But what and I actually went back and forth with him on some Twitter comments, and actually what he's doing is he's eliciting comprehensible input from the native speakers.
Yes.
And he has the personality for it.
Yes.
I mean, it's obvious he does.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I started getting into the YouTube polyglots like Benny the Irish Polyglot and Moses McCormick, who are extremely motivated and motivating with their videos and everything, but they don't really go into, you know, what is the process for actually learning the language, because not everybody has the personality to go up to a native speaker and elicit that input, or you know, has the money to travel to a country for 3 months to dedicate to learning the language.
Well, I still tell my students to this day, motivation plus time equals learning.
Yeah.
You know, if you have more motivation and less time, you're still going to learn.
Motivation plus time plus resources. I think I'd add resources.
Yeah.
You know, obviously in your class they have the resource. Yeah. But yeah, motivation. No, if you don't have motivation, we have those kids. You know, we have those kids in our classes who. I love the BBP episode where we talked about motivation, and it was like, okay, thank you. I don't feel like a total terrible teacher. I feel like you might think wonderful things. We all lie to ourselves about other people's classes. You know, like, oh man, you know, his class must be so great, and I'm sure your classes are both wonderful. But mine's not. You know, mine is messy. I have kids who don't pay attention. I have kids who, you know, have behavior problems. I have messed up, wonderful, human average, you know, teenagers with their problems and their baggage and all that wonderful stuff. You know, broke up with boyfriend today, broke up with girlfriend today. Oh my gosh, the guy just said, you know, looked at me and said something inappropriate or something. You know, all these things that are going on, and they're coming into class with this, and they're pulling away, or you know, problems at home, and we're trying to build them up and teach them. You know, I mean, those challenges are really hard, because that motivation for some of those kids, you know, like you have kids with problems at home. I mean, come on. They're not going to be motivated. Like, they don't even, if some of them don't even have, they're worried about it in their meal in some cases, you know, like, they're not going to be motivated for our class. Now, some will, because our class could be an escape for them, especially when, I think with TPRS, it's like the best escape ever, because we can create these fictional narratives. They can be the best at something, and maybe, like, we are the ones who are really making them look good. They're peers, and nobody else has been doing that their whole, I mean, I had a guy one year who told me, like, I just was trying to be really intentional with him. He didn't really ask for me or anything, but I would just tell him, like, I'm really glad you're here today. When you would be gone, you know, I'd say, hey, why were you gone, you know? Glad you're here today. I missed you last class. He said nobody ever told him that. You know, his whole time through school, he couldn't remember a teacher that had ever told him they missed seeing him, and was he doing okay, you know? And it was like, well, why not? You know, you're valuable. And you, and you know, and so we built that relationship. And did he skip my class? Yes. But I hold him accountable for it? Yes. At the end of the year, did he say, you know what, Mr. Jordan, I learned a lot more in your class than I thought I would, and I actually really enjoyed it? Yes, he did. You know, and so I didn't win certain little battles with him, but at the same time, I still always held him accountable. I just, hey man, you know, I need to know where you're at, because I'm worried about you, you know, and I care, and I want to know. So, you know, but anyway, I go off on tangents galore, you'll notice. This is how I work. But I forgot the question at this point.
Now, could you...
There's your segue.
That's a bad question.
Yeah. Could you
No,
tell
not a
us
good
what does a typical day in your class look like? Like, what kind of... How do you set up here?
So it's such a long day. I only have 2 hours of sleep. 2 hours of sleep right now.
That's the most you're going to get. So.
Yeah, right. No, I think I'll get more tonight. And it's not. I don't have to do a big performance tomorrow morning. Say the question one more time. I'm so sorry.
What is a typical day in your class
Oh,
look
yeah.
like?
So a typical day, I posted this stuff. I shared this stuff on my blog for people. I think that people can read some people are requesting access, but I'm pretty sure that you can just, it should be all links are shareable and everything, you know. I try to make sure that's very, I'm very anal retentive about that kind of stuff, you know, because I want people to be able to use it, you know. And so in my class, and it's still hard to see, even that little snapshot, it's hard
and
to
if
know.
You don't know, it's Profesor Anónimo.
Ironically. You know
Profesor
why?
Anónimo.
It's Profesor Anónimo @ blogspot .com. And the reason was because when I first made the blog, it was just like an anonymous teaching blog with my, and then like later on I was like, I'll just write my stuff. But then people like realized that it was me, and I was like, okay, whatever. But then somebody thought it was like Professora no anymore, something, because I think I saw
Professora no anymore.
Yeah, somebody's Pinterest. There was like, oh yeah, look at her resources. But there's like a picture of me on the side of it, and it says cheerleader. Anyway, yeah. So the day of my class is just. We have a warm up. I kind of learned some different things through like Fred Jones, the Big Blue book, the tools for teaching. Like classroom management really helped me with being more intentional with my time with kids. Establishing routines. This last couple years I've been doing the Bryce Hedstrom and Elena Petescu, their secret password to get in. Wonderful activity. I've extended it this last year to even like I might just like ad lib with them, and they have to get to a point in the conversation where they have to use the password. It wasn't always super complicated. I noticed my Spanish 1s were really better than my Spanish 2s because Spanish 2s had more baggage. Other teachers, and stuff, But my Spanish 1s were like, they were used to me, so I'm really great at that. And just, give them opportunities to use the language whenever possible. That's the way to get in the class, And it's funny, you always think, like, if you do that, like, what if a kid isn't going to come in? I mean, from pretty much day 2, I was doing like it was Buenos Dias or something for the first week, but it was just that's the expectation, and when kids know that from day 1 or day 2, then they just know if they're already going to cause problems, then guess what? Then it's already going to be with an administrator, and they're probably not going to be in your class the rest of the year. But they're not going to start doing that stuff halfway through the year because they already know the expectation. I think I learned a lot about routines and things, through different sources, and so that's good. So they get into class, they would warm up for about 5 minutes so I can get attendance taken. It's usually something simple to give them success, help them feel good about themselves. It could be a translation of some sentences or something. It could be, hey, I experimented this last year. Look at these underlined forms from our story. Can you, and maybe this isn't a good in the TPRS world, but it was like, can you say these, like, how would you say I do these or I did these instead? How would you say from so-and-so's point of view? I didn't say, I didn't say the yo form, I didn't say first person, I just said, how would you say it from so-and-so's point of view? And it was underlined in context, and then I wanted them to think about that, and so we'd go over them, and we'd applaud whenever they get them right after we're going over them. That's kind of the first couple minutes, and then from there we do a daily report. I was on block schedule for 3 years, and so that really messed me up. This last year I was in 50-minute classes and kind of, didn't always get through stuff, but I just learned to hang out with my kids a lot. That's a big part of the class, and I think they learned that, and they loved that. That was a big one for most of them. It was just, guys, I'm not here. I'm not teaching you really. It's just we're hanging out and you're learning the language. It's kind of my philosophy. Very laid back. And we get to, there are times I'm not as laid back. I'm still a teacher. I'm still there to help them. I'm a language acquisition facilitator. I need to make sure that I have to make the everything optimal. The everything that we're doing in class, I have to optimize that, and then correcting their behavior is part of that, unfortunately. At the end of the day. But anyway, so we do that, and then we'll probably do. I'll say the day of the week. Do the time. This last year I did the time with them just to kind of practice that. I always add new stuff. Trying new stuff out, see what sticks. Weather report for like what yesterday was, today is, tomorrow it will be. I like to use all the tenses I need to. Even in Spanish 1, I did it all year, and they were comfortable. Past isn't a big deal. I'll use it all year. Then we will go to. Usually, I just thought this was fun. It's like every day we have a different beginner activity. So Monday was a meme in Spanish that I would find that could relate to the words we've been going over, structure we've been going over, or just something silly. Sometimes just something silly and random, because kids just need that. And it's just to laugh before we start class, because I just love to laugh. If I can't laugh in class, I'm in the wrong job. I don't want to teach anymore, because now there are classes that I have a harder time laughing in, but we will still find, laughter. And I'll still laugh if I'm not laughing. Who cares if they are, right? But anyway, just kidding. So then Tuesdays was a joke, which you might have seen some of my jokes that I have. I just find them online. And then, always make like a background or make it interesting or try to make it, give it some context. And then I'll just read the joke or the meme, and I'll have them translate it real quick. I don't, translation isn't always my favorite go-to, but I just want to see how they're doing.
Do you know the website Son Bombazo?
Yeah. You
You
know,
know, just you're talking about jokes and memes and things.
I use his Meowpolis.
I pulled a few things.
I haven't
off.
looked. I use his Meowpolis. A lot of the stuff on his webpage is incomprehensible for
No,
my
yeah,
kids.
it's the
Yeah.
levels. The
Yeah,
levels.
yeah. It's not for my kids.
You can't-
I'm 1 and 2. I'm 1 and 2, and his stuff might be
Well,
maybe,
even three or
it's
four, if
pushing
they're
it.
not a native speaker.
Yeah, it's pushing it because he, I think he lived abroad for like when he was a little kid or something. Like, it's that idea of immersion. So what can we glean from this? Like, can we understand any words versus, you know what, if I have to do 90% target language and I only have this limited number of hours in a year, it's not even 180, right? Because 15-minute classes, we have things all over the place, like interruptions, we have breaks, we have, kids missing, sickness. Like, maybe I get like 150 hours in a year with the kids. Maybe. I'm not going to want to waste time gleaning. I want them to get the most language they can, right? But anyway, but I mean, there's some value with that as you're teaching them strategies for upper level Spanish, I think, that you might have to do once in a while for success in another person's class, in my other school. So anyway, Wednesday was Meowpolis. I got those a lot of times. Not always, though, because I preferred other ones I'd just find sometimes. Or I'd make some of my own. Then I'd have some comics.
Set your stuff down and I'll go
How
ask.
about over here? There's a little cafe here on the left.
I'll just do that. I know how this works. I have like cars going by, giant motors, And you're like, why are you serious? Could you buy a new model? Anyway. So the Thursdays is a comic, and then so like I do bunny comics. They are like there's like these little bunny. They're so demented. They have these great surprise endings. I mean, I shared a bunch of them on my resources. You feel free to check those out. They are so funny to me though, and you can get them. They're wordless. So I love them because by the end of the year, I'm telling a story to set up before I get to the first frame of it, and I'm seeing the kids like understand that we're talking about it. And they're like already making predictions about what's going to happen, and there's not even any graphical reinforcement on the board yet. Then I go to the first frame and I lead them to this story, and it's just a super quick story, But I can review words that I've been using in class and structures, and I can constantly recycle things and add new things. And I can say, well, what do you guys think he's thinking, or those kind of things, and just really like some higher level thinking questions. And oh gosh, do you think he's going to do this, or he's going to, or what's going to happen? We can get some predictions and different things like that. And sometimes they're spot on, and I'm like, can't believe it, because these are demented comics, and sometimes they're totally off. But I love their ideas more. It doesn't matter because we're laughing and we're engaged and we're having fun. And so that's Thursday, and then Friday we do a fail. I love fails. I mean, if you guys had got hurt, I wouldn't laugh at you. I wouldn't do that. But fails on the internet are just they're hilarious, So we just do the fail Friday, and and I kind of the association with the day of the week. Hoy es viernes, y los viernes tenemos, and you get the we form in there. Tenemos un, and then they remember, the kids like un fracaso, and I'm like, say winter, and we're super excited. Sometimes they always have like a favorite thing each week. One class, like this last year, would yell, comic, like that was their favorite thing, which is totally blew me away. Usually their favorite was the fails, but every class, something they loved, and it's just another opportunity to give them the language in another context. It's always about recontextualizing. Stories are great, but let's do it in a joke too. Let's do it in new ways and make it fun and fresh. And it's a template. And then we would do whatever lesson we'd have. Maybe a story, maybe it's a reading, maybe it's just talking about their weekend, maybe it's talking about their plans for the weekend, for the future. Maybe it's talking about what they were going to do last Friday, but now it's Monday, and then we're going to confirm or deny it. Just a number of things. It just depends. But we talk, and then at the end of the class, I try to give an exit slip quiz, and then move on, and that's it. It's pretty simple, pretty quick. 15 minutes is like nothing. You can tell I talk a lot too. Yeah, but I had 90 minutes for 3 years, and oh my gosh, I was like, I go through all that stuff, and I still have 60 minutes. I was like, now this is a manageable amount of time, But then when you only have like 50, and you do all that stuff, and you're like, I have 20 minutes. Are you kidding me?
Our school switched from, we were at 50 and then we went to 45.
Oh gosh. That's still a big chunk to miss.
I calculated it. That's 17 instructional days.
Oh my gosh. So they added an extra hour or something? For
yeah,
credits?
We went from
because
7,
they need to get
7
more
8
credits
period
or something.
day. Yeah.
Which is exhausting for the teachers too, because it's an extra class. Yeah, those classes, you're just boom, 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 boom. You don't even have time to like catch your breath with the kids. Like, there's no rest. You can't just hang out with it necessarily. That might be the classes where you have like a 2-minute warm up or something, instead of a 5-minute.
I've had to eliminate it entirely.
Yeah, or that. Just start as the bell rings. Okay, guys, we're gonna start now. Because you don't want to waste time with that.
It already upsets me that I can't do all the stuff from all the great CI teachers that I want to do. Persona especial. I want to do a Future Friday thing. Or
Yeah, sure.
You know, what did we do over the weekend on Monday? I like to do music on Wednesday. I want to do a movie talk on Friday.
Yeah.
And
I used to do songs on Thursdays. My first year TPRS teaching, that was my break day. So valuable. It was so exhausting to do a new method. So I just on Thursdays I'd find a new song, do a closed activity. I'm not original at all. I'm pretty boring, but it's just the exposure. And I needed that break. The kids, that was their favorite day of the whole week because you have high frequency words all of a sudden. Like these songs would have been incomprehensible in previous years, and suddenly we're using high frequency stuff. And it's like Spanish 1 is like we're kind of getting some of this. Spanish
they
2
go
was,
home and they download it and they sing it for their family until their parents hate me.
Exactly. I love.
Yeah, they do that with Señor Woolley.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that guy.
I had students that were watching his video on YouTube at the football game.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have kids that actually downloaded his stuff on iTunes and would play it constantly.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's catchy. He does a great job.
Great. So tell us what's in store for Señor Jordan in the future. What have you got coming up?
For Señor Jordan, the YouTube persona, or for Señor Jordan, like what?
Yes.
Just me, all of them.
Yeah.
The YouTube star.
We're interested in the real person. We're not a fluff organization.
Oh, okay. No fluff here. The fluff stops here.
So is the YouTube guy a different person then? That's another.
No, I think
another,
the perception is that he's a different person because he ends up covering more grammar. I mean, the thing is at the end of the day, I do CI videos and I try to do things that I really am passionate about and they don't get views. And so the question is, how can I help change the tide? And I'm working on a curriculum right now just for the heck of it, for fun, and developing something but the problem is that it's not going to be great because I'm trying to look at the textbook scope and sequence and then try to find ways to incorporate stories and give your chuck and bucket kind of thing and get rid of the unimportant words, but actually, because my videos never went in a great sequence and I wanted to actually start over, make a sequence, land some kind of maybe a textbook type thing, but with stories galore and have my native speaker friends read the stories off and have some videos and additional worksheets and things and additional embedded readings. But at the end of the day, the average teacher doesn't use Storytime, they're not going to use it in their classes. But if a person is learning on their own, it could be a valuable resource to excuse me. And that's something I'm really passionate about doing. It takes a lot of work, and so I'm just one step at a time. Maybe over this next year I might get a few units done, and then I'll slowly work on them.
Awesome.
I'm really trying to hone my skills in animation. I am working on learning After Effects for title, kinetic, typography, motion, text, and things. I'm trying to get better about my techniques on the programs. I'm doing things with Adobe Character Animator, which is a thing through After Effects and the Adobe Suite, and you can actually create basically like a puppet, and you can move them with your body. So if you've seen some of my more recent videos with the cartoons, Dumpy Dan today was actually done with that program. I'd already the original Dumpy Dan was not done with that. He was made like Flash, which is now Adobe Animate. But I had to rig the character to make it simple for me to edit it here on my laptop, which was not really a beefy machine. So last night I was just moving back and forth while I was talking, and it would move his head. And I had a couple pre-programmed reactions with hands and eyes, and I think it looked pretty convincing at the end of it. It took a lot of work to get to that point. But I want to do more animation. Actually, that's my big thing. I want to crossover. I want to do more. I want to keep doing the Cuentas Conmigo stuff. I see that as very valuable. The last one I did was really not popular. Actually, I was really surprised. The Juan Cena thing was like magic. I mean, it was. If you guys, I don't know if you guys even followed it. It was magic. Like it was just from the get-go. It was awesome. Just really neat. I did the next story. I was like, man, if I can do this again, that's so great, And it wasn't super hard. I didn't have myself filmed anymore. I'm slowly getting distancing myself because I'm getting older. My hair's falling out. I'm looking more like Sheldon, from Big Bang Theory. People say and tell me all the time, And I don't.
You were here first.
I don't have a space to film. I have kids now, and I don't have my small house right now. We're renting, so I can do animation, and it's whatever I can do. I just want to keep doing stuff, and those are some different things you can look forward to. Hopefully, continue to do just more fun, short grammar videos, yes, but I want to think of them more as like just little pop-up grammar videos. So maybe like a couple minutes. Like I want to start making them shorter again, because I feel like for the average homework assignment, that's going to be better for the students. Some of my videos were starting to be like 12, 13 minutes long at some point there, you know, because I was like putting 3 different practice activities in them. That's pretty exhausting.
Yeah.
And it was to make too, but you know, I mean, it's always an experiment, and I'd like to go back to shorter videos. YouTube is kind of that point right now where I think, you know, attention spans, kids are out of technology, they're constantly immersed. Short is good. Things I need to play around with cameras now. Like another thing, you probably didn't. Did you see the Fluency Fast advertisement that I made?
No.
It was like a little animated me. Okay, so a really, really important thing I'm trying to work on is changing the camera. Well, sure, it's an animated me, he's flat, but I can do a close-up with him. I can do like a far back shot with him. I learned this last year at the Señor Willie's thing at NTPRS. It's just like thinking about, you know, using different camera angles. So like right now we have this static, you know, just this one, you know. So it's good though. You gotta get a close-up shot, you know, just that one change every once in a while, every 20, you know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, just a little bit more interesting than that. Like what I used to do is just film myself. So you guys watch the Kyle Carr? He's El Profe Loco. He's great at this. Have you seen El Profe Loco?
No, I haven't.
Okay. He's I think it's Kyle Carr, I think I want to say. But anyway, he posts some stuff on the IFLT, and his guy has great skills with After Effects, I think. I mean, I think he's great. I mean, it's not my style. It's not my style. It's his style completely. You know, I might not use it in my classes, you know, but I think I love what he does. It's so creative. He's so interesting. Like I think his editing skills are way better than mine. It's still, there's a little amateur feel to it, you know, but like he's way beyond what I ever was when I started doing this video stuff. Like I just did it because nobody had any, you know, and he's raised the bar for me, and so I'm like, well, I'll go in a different direction then, you know, because he has nothing on animation, so, and nobody else. I have a lot of competition now, so like.
I have a question for some of my
sure.
former students.
Okay.
They used to wonder when you were doing your early videos, were you doing those in your parents' basement?
No.
Oh, okay. So
Whenever
it's
I started
finally
videos,
cleared up.
Oh gosh.
After all these years.
I got that comment a lot. Like, hey kid, move out of your parents. Kid? Really? I already was graduating.
Well, your
from
nickname,
college.
as I said, was that guy.
Was I Doogie Howser or something?
You did look pretty young. And you still do?
You know, I mean, I was, you know, early 20s.
Did you survive the day?
I did. What did you think of I'm sorry, I got 2 hours of sleep. What did you think of the opening? Do you think?
Well,
fun?
we missed part of it because we
You were
were
doing your stuff.
troubleshooting her room.
Oh,
but
yeah.
what we saw, we really liked. It looked really fun and upbeat.
Okay, well, good.
Good job.
Thank you. Yeah.
Have you seen Lisa Reyes?
I have kind of wanted back and forth a little bit. She might be in that room right there.
Okay.
We'll edit this out, right?
Sure.
We're gonna edit this out.
As long as the YouTube editor can
Or
do it.
You did a wonderful job this morning. It was obviously
Worked hard.
that you had rehearsed it,
Oh
but
gosh.
it looked
Natural.
unrehearsed rehearsed.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, you still ad lib. Like, you still add stuff to it. So I'm not like a robot. You know, I can't do that. I can't memorize it exactly, but I memorize the concept. And that's, you know, kind of like with when we translate, you know, like you interpret for somebody, you don't interpret word for word. You interpret the meaning of it, and then you do better every time. Sorry, the basement thing. Okay, so I'm going to start over. The answer to the question was, did I live in my parents' basement? And even do I live in my parents' basement to this day? Yeah, and when I made the first videos. So no, I was a bachelor living in a apartment, like a 2-bedroom apartment with a cat, and no, it was just a spare bedroom that I had. I put some green fabric from Walmart. I showed my studio in some of the early videos. You know, it's a really ugly room. Like, I was a bachelor, I didn't care. My wife, you know, she changed things. You know, she came into my life, which is wonderful, and I love her. But yeah, so no. Never lived in parents' basement. We never had a basement. We had a crawl space, so I couldn't. That would have been very uncomfortable. Okay. Crawl space wouldn't have the clearance to do that. I would love to have done that for my parents' basement, because then I would have saved so much money on rent. But no,
Right.
no. Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, Señor Jordan, for sitting down with us. And yeah, we're looking forward to the things that you got coming out on your YouTube channel, and looking forward to the rest of NTPRS 2017.
Thanks for having me. I look forward to you guys and meeting you more and talking to you more this week, and also seeing the awesome things that you guys come up with in the coming years as your paradigms are shifting, you know, with what cool new ideas in classes, and just the, you know, your excitement levels for teaching, you know, kind of maybe more so than before, and yeah, excited. So
Awesome. All right, thanks a lot, and stay
Yep.
tuned for more Greg and Greg.